I just walked in on my girlfriend of 7 years did it with my roommate. My last class of the day was canceled, so I decided to come home and surprise my girlfriend. I went to the store and grabbed everything to make her favorite meal, lasagna. I was carrying the bags up the stairs and put them down in front of the door to fish my keys out of my pocket, and then I heard my girlfriend moaning. I thought that she was taking care of herself, because I know that she likes to do that sometimes when I'm not around. So I didn't have a sudden aha moment or anything. I walked in and there were her and my roommate on the couch. I opened the door and kind of just froze when I saw it. She looked up and he turned around and saw it was me, and I just saw red. As much as I wanted to, I didn't kick his butt. I just dropped the bags and walked away. As I was getting into my car, they both came running out and yelling at me to stop, but I just floored it and got out of there as quickly as I could. I called my best friend and talked to him about it. He offered to come kick his butt. I told him no. I didn't want him to get in trouble from it. I even had the engagement ring that I planned to use to propose to her this summer when we went on vacation. It's in my safe that I keep in the closet, so I know that she doesn't know about it. But I planned to spend the rest of my life with her. Why didn't I see this coming? My last class was supposed to start at 12, but since it was canceled, I was home by 12:30. So it's been 4+ hours. My phone has been blowing up from both of them. I haven't looked at any of the messages or answered any of the calls. I called my bank and made sure that she wasn't on any of my accounts for anything. I'm going to go back later tonight and pack up all of her stuff and drop it off at her place tomorrow. Then I'll probably take a bag of clothes to my friend's house and stay there until school ends. 3 weeks. What do I do next? Update. First, I want to thank each and every one of you who have given me advice, offered me an ear to rant yell to, or offered me a shoulder to cry on. After my first edit, many of you messaged me and asked me not to drink, that I was better than that this wasn't the thing to do. I sincerely appreciate that. My friend and his sister took me out to dinner to try to get my mind off of everything. At first, I wasn't really up to going, but I figured that it would be better to try to focus my mind on something different. My friends called up a couple of my other friends, and the 6 of us went out to dinner. At first, I wasn't really into it. I was kind of down, but my friends did anything and everything that they could to cheer me up. I can honestly say that I love my friends and everything that they've done for me. My best friend's sister, Emily, went through all the messages on my phone from the both of them and deleted anything that didn't need to be on there. She texted both of them from my phone telling them that it was her that was texting and told her that a friend would be by at a certain time to pick up my stuff tomorrow. And she told him that I would be by tomorrow to grab some things and that I was going to try to get out of the lease by talking to my landlord. I want you all to know that I've read through each and every one of these comments and that I've read through every message that's been sent to me on here. I plan on replying to a couple tonight or tomorrow. I'm really tired, but wanted to let you all know how much you've helped me. Finally, to the people that have been in the same position as I'm currently in, or to those that have been in a situation even relatively similar, I have a couple things. First, none of what your ex-SO did says anything about you. It tells what kind of person they are. Your reactions tell the kind of person that you are. Secondly, all of you are much stronger than you realize. Many of you have given me such amazing advice, and you know exactly where I'm coming from. Talking about it isn't always the easiest, and many of you did to try to help an internet stranger, so thank you. Finally, many of you have much greater things to look forward to. Like one of old teachers said, it's like moving on to the next book in the sequence. Yeah, you may have to wait a little bit for the author to release it, but it's worth the wait. Also, to the kind individual that gave me gold, thank you. I plan on donating $5 tomorrow to a charity because of you. For anybody else that would like to, pick your favorite charity and donate, or just do something nice for somebody else. It can have a huge impact on their life. Edit. I'm at my best friend's house. Him and his sister have been super awesome to me. Their doorbell rang about 5 minutes ago. It was her. His sister witched her out. I wanted to go yell at her, but I started drinking Fireball instead. It's going to be a long couple weeks until school gets out. Update. First, I want to thank everybody for the help and many kind words that were sent my way. Seriously, thank you. I'll start with what happened afterwards and work my way up to today, and that's the only reason that I'm making an update only a week later. Emily, my best friend's sister, texted both of them informing that I'd be coming by to get stuff. Emily would be going to my ex-SOS. I went with my best friend, Trevor, and Emily to get some stuff from my apartment. My roommate wasn't there, but he left me a note saying that he's sorry and attempting to explain the situation. I threw it away after reading it, grabbed some stuff and loaded it into my car. I drove back to their house while the two of them then went to my ex's apartment to grab my stuff. My ex was there, and at first, she wouldn't let them in. She yelled at them to go away through the door, and after about 15 minutes of them sitting there, she eventually opened up and let them in to collect my things. They grabbed my PS4, movies, cookware, clothes, and some random other things. She cried the whole time and asked them if they would tell me that she's sorry. It was a one-time thing. I would do anything to change it. They didn't say a word, although she was crying into an older hoodie of mine, so they left that there. I'm not too torn up about that. I told a few select friends what happened and asked if they would watch the doors to my classroom when I had classes, as I didn't want to cause a scene. Nothing on Wednesday, but she stood outside one of my teaching classes on Thursday. I went in through a different door, and thankfully she didn't see me. Friday is the day that really upsets me. As I said in the last post, in a reply, I'm an education major and I have my practicums this semester. Our education building has 2 floors, and the first floor is a laboratory school, an elementary school that has a lot of education students come in and do their practicums or observations, while the second floor has classrooms for education students. My practicum is with 3rd graders, and she stood outside the door to my 3rd grade classroom waiting for me. We have name tags and only have to show those to the desk to get in. She used to be an education major, but switched majors. Therefore, it wasn't too uncommon for her to be in there. I saw her, and my heart immediately sank. I decided to just walk by her and ignore her. She saw me and started crying and trying to talk to me. I didn't say a word but just walked into the classroom. My cooperating teacher asked her to leave, but all my students that were there had already seen it. They started bombarding me with questions, but I just stuck with, "It's nothing important right now. We can talk about it later, but we need to focus on our learning right now." But honestly, it killed me inside. I explained the situation to my cooperating teacher and asked her to watch out for if she came back again. She said that she would, and would ask her to leave if she saw her again. I received a few text messages this weekend from her and her roommate. That was extremely annoying. I got an insane amount of phone calls, and I got a ton of Facebook messages. Trevor and Emily also received quite a few as well. I worked all weekend and threw myself into lesson plans and projects due. I also went and played a round of golf with some friends. Today is really why I'm updating. I got a text from my ex at around 7:15 p. She told me that she was pregnant and that it was mine. I screenshotted the conversation. I'm trying to stay calm, but if she truly is pregnant, and the baby is mine, then that throws a whole wrench into everything. Can anybody give me some advice on what to do next? I'm trying to remain as calm as I can, but this is really big and I'm starting to freak out. Thank you all. Here's the text conversation. Her. I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry that I messed up our future, but I think that we just got a second chance. I know that this isn't what you wanted to hear, but I'm pregnant. Maybe this is why I made my mistake. Me. You can use a pregnancy to explain cheating? It doesn't work like that. I want a pregnancy test. Not one from the store, but to actually go to the doctor and have them do that. If it turns out that you are pregnant, then I want a paternity test. Her. Fine. I'll call the doctor tomorrow and set up an appointment. But if I am pregnant, can we have a second chance? Me. No. All I want to know from you is when and where the appointment is. She seems to calm for this to just be a joke. She's been bat-crap crazy for almost the past week, and now she's extremely calm. I'm honestly extremely scared. Update. Hey everybody. I've been asked multiple times for an update, but it's been super busy, and I actually have a little time today, so I thought I would update everybody on my situation. My ex made a doctor's appointment for a couple of days after my last post. She sent me a text with the date and time and asked me if I would be going with her. I told her that I wouldn't, but that I wanted Emily to go with her. She straight up refused and said this was our baby and that if I didn't go, she would cancel the appointment and wait until I was ready to go. We argued for a little bit until I gave in. I told her that I would meet her there and I would stay for the entire thing, but I was going to be stone silent the whole time unless the doctor asked me a question. Her appointment was at 9:15 that morning. I showed up at 9:10 and sat across from her in the waiting room. The doctor called her back a couple of minutes later. They talked for a couple of minutes. She asked her some questions, and then she had her go to the restroom to pee in a cup. I made sure that her purse and everything stayed in the room. Somebody warned me she would be crazy enough to buy a pregnant woman's pee and use that instead. After she gave the cup to the doctor left, and then she tried to talk to me. I sat there and ignored her and texted my friends until the doctor came back and confirmed that she was pregnant. I started shaking and tried to control my breathing, but my ex was so excited, and the doctor was excited with her. Then came the ultrasound, and my ex was roughly 11 weeks pregnant. After a couple of minutes, I excused myself and left. I texted her as I was leaving that before anything else happens, we're having a paternity test. First off, non-invasive prenatal testing is super expensive. I told her that I would pay for half, but that if the child wasn't mine, then she would have to pay me back for that. She told me that her parents were willing to pay for it. Her parents have more money than I would know what to do with, like millionaire's money. I told her that my ex-roommate was taking the test as well. She said that he didn't need to, and I snapped saying that, I guess I can wait another 6 months, because they won't put my name on the birth certificate until they prove I'm the father. She finally agreed with me and made him take the test as well. There's a place around here that actually specializes in DNA testing, so we were able to get in just a couple days later. She brought her mom with her. They told us that they would have the results in 10 days and that we could come pick them up or they could mail them to us. We said we would pick them up in person. I was too nervous to go to the results. Emily and Trevor both went in place for me. According to them, my ex wasn't happy that I wasn't there and almost refused to let them see the results, but her mom told her that she could understand why I didn't want to be there. I'll never forget that phone call from Emily. Hey. Me. Well, Emily, you're not the dad. You should have seen the look on your ex-roommate's face, though. He's the dad. I didn't make this clear. Sorry. At this point, I squealed like a little girl. My ex attempted to text me later, and I just ignored all of them. Both of her parents did text me, though, saying that they wish me well with teaching. That really meant a lot to me. As for other things in my personal life, I've gotten a new apartment over by Trevor and Emily. My ex doesn't know where I live at the moment. Her number is blocked, she's blocked on Facebook, and everything else that I could think of to block her on. I've joined a summer baseball league, and I play for that 2 times a week. I'm volunteering in the preschool classrooms on campus in the mornings. My job is giving me more hours, requested. I'm taking 3 summer classes, and I'm the ASL tutor for the summer classes now that they have started. I also bought a bike, and now I ride that daily as well. I also got a kitty. His name is Jasper. And I read a lot more now. I realized that I wasn't reading as much as I normally did while I was with my ex, but I've gotten back to reading. My friends are saying that I'm too busy now and that I have even less time than I did when I was with my ex. I like that. The busier I stay, the less I think about her, and the happier I am. There's a week between the summer classes that I'm tutoring this summer, and Emily, Trevor, Emily's best friend, and I are going on a 5-day hiking camping trip. I want to say thank you for everybody that helped me through this. The support that you've all given me has really helped me. There are still the people that are saying this isn't true, but I'm receiving a lot more positive support than negative. No, Emily and I are not going to date. For the many people that have asked, I'm sorry to disappoint you and say that we're not. I don't see her in a romantic way, and I plan on staying single for a while. I'll be finishing up my BS in elementary education this upcoming school year, and then I still need to decide whether to continue schooling and pursue my MS in deaf education and deaf studies, or whether I should start teaching. Update. I moved closer to home, about an hour away, so that I could help my parents. My dad is sick. And because I got a job. I teach first grade. I came home from school one day and saw a letter taped to my door. Not in my mailbox, but taped to the door, so I took it inside and read it. It was from my ex. It included a long 4-page letter giving me reasons why I should take her back and why we are great together. There were also multiple pictures of the baby who is not mine. First, I have no idea how she figured out where I live. Second, she moved closer to here hoping that I would take her back. I asked Trevor and Emily, and they said that her place was now up for rent, so she's not there anymore. The post office wouldn't just tape stuff to your door, so she had to have done it. She has called my school twice, pretending to be a parent of a child in my class. Once, I got called to the office to take the call. The second time, the secretary asked her to stop calling the school, after I informed her and the principal of the situation. I gave both of them a picture of her so that they wouldn't buzz her in. I live in a house, and not an apartment building or anything, so there's not really much I can do. I can let my landlord know about it, but he's not often over here, so he wouldn't know if she's here. My other neighbors work during the day, so I don't think they would notice if she was here. I do plan on letting them know, just in case, though, since one of them does have a spare key to my house. I informed my parents of what's going on, but they said that she hasn't been by their house, so that's a relief. My 2 best friends don't live here to help, so that stinks. Plus, most of the friends that I've made are other teachers at the school, and I don't want to burden them with this, especially since I'm new. I'm very close to getting a restraining order, but I don't know how to go about it, or how to get her served with one since I don't know exactly where she is. I'm afraid that she's going to drive by the school and try to come up to me while I'm outside at recess, or attempt to add parents of the kids that I teach on Facebook. I don't want this to destroy my career, so I'm completely stumped on what to do. I have no idea how she knew where I moved to or anything. I haven't heard from her in months, so I thought that all was going well, and then this happens. The girl that I'm talking to is furious, not with me, and wants to help, but she doesn't know how. Plus, I would prefer for them never to meet. Is there any advice on what I should do?
Alright, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick? Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my 2nd year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, I'm thirsty. Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime, he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance. As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them. It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. "All right, everyone's presentations are done." "Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something." Nick interrupted me. "There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer." He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. "Still here?" Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. "I'm leaving." I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. "Nick? What's wrong?" Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. "Probably Sam." Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. "Do you know how much revenue we get from that company?" "We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs. Gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized." Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. "All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason." "What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do." "I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you." "Please." Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, "Yes. That's Nick for you." Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, "I'm very sorry." Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, "Get his boss here immediately." It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? "All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next." Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. "If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you." I immediately followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was, as the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. "Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize." Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. "What kind of training are you giving your subordinates?" Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed, I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, "I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong." "Mike, what have you done?" Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You're still saying that? Look at him." Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. "I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract?" Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. "Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go." Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. "Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him." There's no way he was pushed aside. "Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he?" I don't remember that part." I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you've failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hope to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.